tell you what, those guys are truly a benchmark. I mean, they are all very, very professional. They've been doing this for quite a while. They nearly never miss a beat. And if we can get right there, now we're running with them. If we can get right there and compete with them and beat them, it's good for everybody. It's good for their program, and it's good for our program. And it's very competitive, and the fans really like it. People are talking about how competitive right now the top 6 spots are in GT.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a pressure cooker. We're running good. We're in the middle of the Vipers for qualifying right now. The race should be no different. We've got to finish 24 hours here to make it count. And I think we have really, really competitive equipment.
Well, it goes both ways, you know. At Daytona, they keep saying, you know, they're the underdogs and stuff, and look how close they were. So believe me, we're always watching them, but we got to run our own race, and hopefully it'll be Viper 1, 2, 3.
They've been looking for us for a long time, and we hope they're still looking when we're done tomorrow.
Well, again, the battle between the Corvettes and the Viper continues, and right now, let's go down to Guy Hobbs with a Viper update.
I'm standing in the Viper pit area. I was trying to get a word with David Donahue, and he just snipped back to the back of the area because they're getting ready for another pit stop. The 51 made a pit stop, but these guys running basically as they want to be doing, 1, 2, 3, and up front. And we will get a further updates for you as we check in with the Vipers.
Well, they continue to run, as we said, 1, 2, 3 in class, and then 4th, Chris, is your car. And I got to ask you, this is your first time to Le Mans. You've done the practice and the night qualifying and the like, but now you're into the guts of the race, so to speak. What's your experience out there? I mean, you know, I'll talk about that a little bit.
It's very cool. I mean, it's everything that we've done this week has been an experience. You know, whether it's, you know, riding to and from the track with the other Corvette drivers, the chateau that we're staying in. You know, everything is really turning into a very memorable experience. And now we're just into the grind of the race, as you suggested. And unfortunately, we're just chasing those cars that we're familiar chasing. But, you know, so now it's sort of just business as usual.
Tell us, too, a little bit. I think this is a thing that very few people, you've done Daytona, of course, quite a few times. The difference between Daytona and here when it comes to night driving.
It's, well, Daytona, you can, you probably don't need your headlights because you have the assistance from, you know, the illumination from the grandstand lights. And here, you're just out on very, very narrow country roads with no lights whatsoever. And, you know, you just have to be very careful, very spot on, because again, even at Sebring where it's dark, the racetrack is much, much wider than it is here in the back parts of Le Mans.
Were you doing the stint when it went from like daylight into headlight time?
Yeah, I was in there with where you basically, there was a total blind spot coming to Indianapolis.
Yeah, that's very, so I always believe that very tricky when you have to change from daylight to headlights.
Although, jump in real quick, the number 9 is in. Of course, that is the car Alan McNish has hauled up, but not only into 3rd, but continues to unreel some very quick laps, although his last lap not quite as quick as the lead number 7. This looks very routine, probably just fuel, and they're going to get that car back out and underway in the chase.
Don't forget, when we look at a time up here and we've seen somebody running at a quick pace, as Chris will tell us right now, that is oftentimes a traffic situation. You've just run into a couple of cars at a bad spot, really throws your time off. And you can see just what Chris is talking about, although he's going into a bright spot right there, just how dark it was. And but this place is truly amazing in that respect. Can your headlights keep up with the actual speed that you're doing?
Not really, no.
Actually, Chris, we got your car coming in for a stop here. I'm sure you're going to want to watch this. And car makes its move in. Guy Hobbs is on his way. In fact, he's there. Guy?
Yeah, it pulled in nicely. Let Chris know that. It's pulled nicely into the pit box. Team seems to be taking it very slow and very routine. And they obviously putting the fuel in again. Remind everybody, no work to be done on the car while the fuel is going in. And the windshield, Chris, it looks pretty dirty.
It's broken.
And there is actually a little bit of a crack in there, you're right. And the tyre change is waiting patiently. A fresh bottle going in. You guys are talking about the drinks bottle. A fresh one goes in. And we're still waiting for the splashback on the fuel before we can start changing those tyres and putting it up on the jack. There goes the fuel, the jack goes up, the Windex goes on.
Chris, how did that windshield, did it just break from the heat or just vibration, but it didn't, or did you get a hit?
No, it was actually, it was cracked when I got in the car, and from the last time, so there was a rock up like the right front, and it's just, you know, tracking through.
Hey, Chris, it seems to me like your tyre changes seem to be quicker than most of the other guys on pit lane.
That's good news.
Justin Bell, of course, sitting patiently in the car. His father, a 5-time winner of this event, and I'm sure Justin would love to become a first-time winner.
Yeah, Justin's father's at the Montreal Grand Prix this weekend. They've sent him up there to comment on it. So you may be watching this on Speed Vision. I hope he is.
By the way, we talked earlier in the show about the BMW LMP of Thomas Boucher, and that car has been very quick, but it's been experiencing some gearbox problems, I understand, Andrew.
Oh, no, not exactly. It's had clutch problems. They're just changing that clutch at the moment, and they're very disappointed. They didn't expect to have those sort of problems at all. They were running very strongly. They thought they'd certainly make the top 5. I'm actually in the Johansson Matthews pit at the moment, and they have just changed a gearbox, not quite the Audi 4 minutes, but they've done a gearbox change here in 11 minutes. Now, John Whitcomb, the team manager, was going to come and talk to me, but he's had to go off because he's just talking to the guys on the radio at the moment. In fact, the car's out there now with Jim Matthews aboard. So transmission problems seem to be a story here at Le Mans.
And the number 12 Panoz, by the way, makes its way out onto the track, and that transmission story always seems to begin to rear its head about this time and continue on just a little bit. I want to say thanks to Chris Neifel, who is headed back. Of course, a lot of work for him to do yet. But since they installed those chicanes, obviously, I mean, you've got the hard braking into Arnage and into the Mulsanne hairpin anyway, but now you've got those two brutally hard braking sections of track. And I mean, I'm guessing into the Virage 4, that's not exactly light either.
No, it's not. I mean, there's one thing on the brakes, but it's the extra gear changes, of course, that don't do you any good at all. And I think, in fact, before the chicanes went in, this place was truly, truly awesome. As Danny was saying earlier, he drove here before they put the chicanes in. I personally think they spoiled the race. I mean, it was nice to get a decent top speed up. You were flat on that straight for 45 seconds. You could scratch yourself and have a bit of an itch, get some blood back in your fingers and get focused. Well, now you're on duty the whole time. I mean, you come thundering out of Turk Rouge, you get on the straight there. Well, next thing you know, you've got to stand on the old anchors, change down the gear bag, whittle round the first chicane. You get all throttled up again, and you just about have a scratch, and hey, there's another chicane. You've got to brake and change down and go around that. Well, I'd find that all a bit boring myself.
Well, they did do it for safety reasons, and you can't fault them trying to make the place good. And they did do a good job in the fact that they still get up to some pretty great speeds on those sections down there. But I do think that one of the things on the gearbox is the power going through those gearboxes as well.
Well, we just saw a glorious shot of Justin Bell in the Corvette coming over the famous, perhaps infamous hump here on Mulsanne. We'll be back to Le Mans right after this. Welcome back to Le Mans. We're approaching midnight local time here, and the crowd's still huge. And as I said earlier, enthused. They are on the fence and watching the action. There's a good look at the GT class leading number 83, Dick Barber, Mobil 1 GT3 Porsche. And that car having a very solid run here. And there's the number 52 Viper making its way into the pits. Let's go down to Guy Hobbs for a Viper update.
We just saw Chris Neifel make his stop, the Viper make his pit stop. And the fuel going in, there's no problem with the fuel going in. And they're waiting, of course, again to change those tyres. Trying to get this car out and underway. The jack is up. The team working away on the tyres, and of course, trying to get this stuff as quick as they can. And a problem with the right front.
Look at the guy at the rear. He's about a half an inch away of putting that jack in there. Watching the guy, look at him, just sitting there waiting for that pull out so he can just dive in.
Those rules, of course, done for safety, that they do not want you doing any work on the car while fuel's going in due to the possible sparks and ignitions, although they can do the driver change at that time as well. And some very enthused fans here at Le Mans.
Everybody likes to be on camera.
Indeed. All right. Looks like they're just finishing up the tire change here. And this is the car, remember, leading in class when it came in. It's down off the jacks, and whoops, something wrong. Snugging something up, it appears, at the front of the car. Boy, this is not the kind of thing you want up in the jacks.
This is exactly what Chris Neifel was talking about.
Yeah.
They just need a couple little breaks like this. It's a little bit longer. Get them out of step just a little bit. Throw them off their rhythm. That wasn't much, but that was another 20 seconds.
Every little bit helps.
That's
see?
right.
It all adds up. You lose 20 seconds over a couple of stops, and suddenly that's a whole lap.
All right, let's go down to Andrew Marriott with an update on our all-Canadian team.
Yeah, well, Scott Maxwell's with me here. Scott, you were leading the 675 category here, and now you've got obviously a transmission problem.
Yeah, we actually broke a half shaft on the Mulsanne and did some gearbox damage trying to get it back to the pits, but we're going to repair it and get back out there.
How long is this going to take, Scott?
Well, we've been in about 40 minutes now, and I expect another half hour till we're back out.
How is the car going? It's a super little car, this.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first time in debut with the Multimatic Lola, and it's going fantastic. I think we had a 6-lap lead, and things were going smoothly, but it's a long race. We're only a third of the way through, and we're going to get back out there and resume the chase.
That's the spirit. Well done, Scott.
Well, of course, that's a category as our leader. Our leader is in the number 7 Audi R8, and Guy Hobbs is there.
Leader is into the pit, and a regular pit stop at this point. The guy's checking out the vehicle, because remember again, no work. They've got some flashlights. They can take a peek inside the wheel arches and see what they can see before those wheels come off. Fuel going in, all the gauges seem to be okay. We're going to wait again for that splashback. There is, of course, a man with a fire extinguisher on hand in case of any problems. The jackman is ready. They're not changing any tires. They did have a look in. Oh, it's not restarting. It's not. There it goes. It did finally restart.
Guy, one of the parts that was always the most difficult for me is in that shot right there. You come in out of the guard, you pull into a bright pit, and then everybody's shooting off the flash bulbs all around you. You get all those flashes in your light, you drive out, and especially for that car, who goes instantly out into the dark,
and you're right,
it's a problem.
He's the very end pit, pretty much, and it's absolutely pitch black at the end of his pit. And in fact, as he's done his pit stop, it should be about 2 more laps before the number 8 comes in, and then 3 more laps before 9 more laps before the number 9 comes in. So we'll stick around and keep an eye on the Audi 1, 2, 3 situation.
Well, and that is exactly how they continue to fly. Number 7 leading over. It's a numerical order here. 7, 8, 9 running 1, 2, and 3. Then the 2 Panoz at 11 and 12 sitting in the 4th and 5th spot. Then the Cadillac, the highest placed one from the DAMS equip, sits in 6th. Then the Japanese TV Asahi entry sits right behind them. Of course, continuing to run very strongly and leading in the LMGT division, LMGTS division, are the Vipers, chased hard by the 2 Corvettes, and in the LMGT category, it is the Dick Barber Porsche, number 83. It continues to have a fairly substantial margin, really, at this point. And they continue, as we said, to run very strongly. But up front, we continue to watch Alan McNish throwing quicker and quicker laps in as he continues to try and run down the other competitors here. We are fast approaching midnight here at Le Mans. We'll be right back to bring you into the final 16 hours. It is now midnight here at Le Mans. We have eclipsed 8 hours in terms of time done, 16 remaining, and the battle is most seriously on. Certainly, we've got the great run. The Audis up front being chased hard by the Panoz. The battle in GTS, we talked about that, perhaps could be the best battle out there. It certainly seems to be right now. And in GT, you know, we were thinking that battle itself might be in terms of the closest racing, and right now Dick Barber has it covered, Danny.
He does. You know, some team that I'd like to talk about that has really gone unmentioned just quickly is the Speed Vision team. Everybody here, everybody's doing this. Everybody doesn't realize that we had a 24-hour broadcast, actually longer, going for this event. And it takes a great group of guys in the truck and everything else to put all this on and make this happen for all you viewers out there.
Absolutely, and we want to say, of course, thanks to our French folks for providing the television coverage here, a lot of the pictures that we're seeing. By the way, I'm Greg Creamer, Danny Sullivan in the booth, along with Alan DeCadney down in the pits right now is Andrew Marriott and Guy Hobbs, and of course we'll be rotating through as we continue on with our unstopped coverage right now. Of course, Derek Daly, who has been doing play-by-play earlier, and he'll be back on in just a little over a half hour, took a look at one of the fastest rigs, not on the track, but in the paddock.
Now, in many American race paddocks, this is not an unfamiliar sight. It's a featherlight race transporter. However, when this thing got to Europe with Dick Barber's cars inside, it caused quite a stir, mainly because of its length. Have a look here. This is a typical European race truck. Truck and trailer about this length. Have a look at Dick Barber's. The length of the trailer alone comes out to here. Now, can you imagine if they put the tractor unit on? It would block the whole paddock here at Le Mans. Well, this got its own name, Big Blue. It's the fastest race truck in the world. And believe it or not, it almost developed a cult following in Europe, mainly because the French Minister for Transportation, when they realized the length of it, said, you cannot go anywhere without this sign, Convoy Exceptionnel, on the front and rear of the truck. They actually gave the team a list of highways they were not even allowed to travel upon. And of course, as all cult figures, this Big Blue here developed its own line of merchandise. Have a look in here. For about 75 French francs, anybody here at Le Mans can have a piece of Big Blue in the form of these T-shirts. Let's have a look at the standard features. World's fastest race transporter. It'll do 100 miles an hour fully loaded with 3 cars and equipment. It's got 500 horsepower, 73 feet overall length. Luxury items, 2 beds, a fridge, satellite TV, CB radio, CD player, and of course air conditioning. Race director Tony Dow told me when this thing left Silverstone after the last race and drove to Dover for the car ferry to come to Le Mans, there wasn't a single daisy standing at any English roundabout after Big Blue rolled through.
Oh, that is absolutely great, and it's just wonderful timing. Joining us now in the booth is Dick Barber. And Dick, all that, and you're leading in class here at Le Mans on your return.
Boy, maybe this is a good omen coming up here. Yes, I'm very pleased to be here. It's a long way to go. We all know that. We've all been around racing a long time. So it's not over until it's over, but if we pay attention to the minor details, the major details, the drivers are all focused, the team is really pumped. The car's been really prepared, so hopefully we'll prevail in the end.
Dick, you've been, of course, out of racing for a while, and you've, I know you and I talked trying to get a deal back together a couple of years ago and stuff like that. You look like you've come back with a vengeance in a big way, not just with Big Blue, but I mean, you've put together a great program. The car's fabulous. You've got a good group of drivers, and you seem to be back.
Well, it's very exciting. It's hard work, Danny. You know that as well as I do. And yes, I'd have been thrilled to do something with you. And you never know. Maybe we'll drive here together next year.
Well, I appreciate that. But tell us, when was the last time that you were here at Le Mans racing?
20 years ago. 20 years ago this month.
20 years.
Alan was here, yeah.
I was here then. That's right. I remember very well. But you see, you've done a great deal now. I think you've got like almost works backing there, haven't you? Because that car of yours is really, really trick.
Well, we do tremendous amount of development. I mean, we've done 47 changes since Silverstone. I mean, there's, you know, we're very appreciative of factory cooperation, but our guys really work day and night. We're here till 4:30 every morning. We just really into this.
I got to jump in here. We just saw the #1 Cadillac with Butch Leitzinger come in, and it looked like he stopped short, had to get pushed up into the next pit stall, and then they just went after fuel. And meanwhile, Andrew Murray had some more developments with Thomas Bischer's BMW.
Yeah, well, I've got the team manager, Michael Kane, here. Michael, you're doing a clutch change. That's unusual. You thought this car was absolutely bulletproof.
Well, not quite, because we knew we did have a concern over the clutch because of what happened to the car last year. But we thought that we'd been able to fix it so that we could get it to the end. But the fact that it's gone so early means there must be something that we don't understand at the moment. So we're just having a look at the problem. In the meantime, the guys are changing the clutch and we'll get the car out again very soon.
OK, well, I've got Jean-Marc Gounon has been driving this. Jean-Marc, you're driving this older BMW. You're used to the current model, which you race in the ALMS, of course. How different is this car? Obviously, it looks very different.
It's not the same car than the 99 for sure, but for me it was very interesting to come to this race, and I had to say thanks to Gerhard Berger who released me to make this race on a BMW. For the moment we are very disappointed because all the beginning of the race was going quite well. We did all the work during the 2 days to make the perfect setup for the race. The car was able to run in 47 easy, and we had this clutch problem, but I think it's the beginning of the night. I'm very motivated and I have to do nearly all the night, and I will push as hard as I can, as usual, to return back to
Thanks very much, Jean-Marc. Let's get to Guy Hobbs now down at Audi.
Thanks, Andrew Marriott. Frank Bieler has got his gloves on, double-checking everything. They are waiting for the car. It should be here any second now. The team is set. They are going to change tyres this time around. They've got 4 new Michelins ready to go on that one. And they are just patiently waiting the car. Actually, everybody's kind of looking on, wondering why it's taking so long. But the car, I believe, is now on pit lane, working its way up, of course. Don't forget, there is a pit lane speed limit here at Le Mans, and they've got to obey that. And, of course, they're at the very far end of pit lane, so it seems very frustrating for them waiting for the car to come down the pit lane. But, of course, on the exit of pit lane now, the first one's out. And I believe this is the number 8 coming in right now. Of course, in second position. Let's send it back to the booth, and we'll keep an eye on this Audi pit.
All right, thanks very much. One of the Vipers in as well, and we'll, of course, follow that with great interest as well. And it looks like David Donahue is going to be going on board the number 53 entry. And that is, you know, they're sitting there in third, and that's how they won it 2 years ago. They just sat back, everybody else went fast, and then had little niggling problems. They had an absolutely trouble-free run, and that was what gave them the win. Let's go down to Guy Hobbs.
And I can confirm for you, Greg, it is David Donahue getting in. They're having a little bit of trouble strapping him in. The fuel is in, and now the team goes to work, doing a real, very careful job of cleaning out the radiator and the grille, and actually they've taped it up just a little bit. Maybe trying to change the temperature there, getting a good inspection. The brake guys checking the brakes. So far, we haven't seen anybody make any brake pad changes. Little trouble with the right front again. Remember, the other car had a problem with the right front on the last stop, but now this one is pretty much all done. The windshield is all clean. David Donahue trying to repeat what his father did and win here at Le Mans. They're going to refire the motor. Just double check the door, it wasn't quite shut, and David Donahue is back out and on his way.
And that car takes off, and obviously, as we said, that's running third in the order in GTS behind its 2 compatriots, but in front of the 2 Corvettes.
Dick, we've got another question. We were talking there about brakes. What's the situation on a GT3 in terms of braking, changing either pads or rotors or both? How often, or do you do it at all?
Well, to be very honest, we had Danny, I'll let you know a secret. We're going to try and go without a brake pad change.
Is it something different that you've changed? Sorry, let's interrupt right here. We've got a pit stop going on there in the pits. We'll come back to that in just a second. Sorry.
Just again, the Audi number 8 is in. Frank Bier is in the car, strapping in. Once the strapping in is done and the fuel is in, we'll go to the tyre work. They have got 4 Michelins laid out, so we're assuming they're going to change, and they are going straight to the rears first. Some of these teams vary in which way they change. Some start at the front and work their way back. Some start at the back and work their way to the front. These guys changing the rears first. A little bit of a problem there. Guys running into each other. There's a big board here too reminding Frank what he's got to do. Brake, steering, ignition, then he gets a 5-second warning, which means they'll be done in 5 seconds. That's 5 seconds up, the engine is fired away, and he is off. Oh, one of the mechanics had to reach underneath. Close moment there with his left hand as the Audi pulled out, with a very quick stop, very efficient as they have been all night long.
Tremendous precision, unquestionably, by the Audi team. Dick, can you hang around for just a little bit longer for a couple more questions? Great. We will be back and visit more with Dick Barber when we come back to Le Mans.
So where are you living now?
This weekend marks the first North American visit of the year for the Formula One circus. And earlier in Canadian Grand Prix qualifying, if you watched it, you saw Michael Schumacher take the pole in most dramatic fashion by 98 one-thousandths of a second over David Coulthard on the last lap. So, after Le Mans is over, grab a few hours of sleep, set the alarm for 12:30 p.m., of course that's Eastern time, for the pre-race show. Calling the race this week with Bob Varsha is former Benetton mechanic Steve Machette. So it'll be quite interesting to hear the analysis from that perspective. It's the Canadian Grand Prix live on Speed Vision, Sunday, 12:30 p.m. after the conclusion of Le Mans and a brief nap. You see now that we are now approaching, we are 21 hours, and we have Andrew Marriott, I believe, standing by down in the pits with the driver who just got out of the number 8 Audi. Andrew.
Well, Emanuele Pirro, how was your stint there in the night?
It was pretty good. The track was pretty slippery, actually, but I'm quite happy with the car. I would have liked to change a couple of more things in the setup because the circuit is not really the same as what we had in qualifying. But, you know, we hang on and we're catching up. We made a position on car 9, I think, which is good for us and bad for them. And it's just still early stage, so pretty smooth, no big aggros, and I'm happy that we recovered from the incident at the beginning with the tire.
Just a quick question. You were talking to Dr. Ulrich there. Any team orders yet? Any team orders?
Yeah, I'm expecting him to say that we have to win because Frank and I, we are the longest driver in Audi. But unfortunately, this will not happen. So the race is open, and all he told us is you're professional driver, experienced enough, and make sure you bring the car home and then do what you want, which is basically the order.
Thanks very much to you, Guy Hobbs, with the Corvettes, I think.
Thank you, Andrew. The Corvettes have just taken on the fuel. They've done the driver change. Frank Freon is in, and they are changing. It looks just like they're going to change just the front. But an interesting moment before this happened, just before the Corvette came in. As you know, Andrew, almost ran off the air jack, stuck in there, and being reminded to turn the lights on. But interesting thing happened right before they came in. As you know, Andrew, the overhang of the press room is right over the pits here, and there's a couple of folks who've been enjoying themselves here at Le Mans, and they managed to let go of their glass of wine, and it crashed down right in the pit lane. So the crew went frantically like mad trying to clean up any glass in case they had any problem coming into the pits. They got it all cleaned up, but most of the whatever was in the bottle ended up on my shoulders, and I'm feeling quite wet right now.
Well, nothing like being right in the midst of the action, Guy. Nice work down there, and obviously cooled off and refreshed as well. You're good for another 6 or so hours. We'll be back at Le Mans. Welcome back to Le Mans. Great shot of our leader in the number 7 Audi making its way through the Mulsanne hairpin and on the way to Indianapolis and Arnage. And in spite of my problems reading a French digital clock, 21 has nothing to do with the time or hour we're working on. We're just past 8 hours in, a little less than 16 to go. And by the way, within about 15 minutes or so, Derek Daly, Sam Posey, David Alps, and the change down in the pits is going to unfold as well as our coverage goes all the way to the end. But Dick Barber's been very kind to hang around here through a couple of breaks and some action in the pits. And Dick, when we last left you, Danny had asked you about some brakes, and you guys think that you have a secret weapon and might be able to go all the way to the end without a pad change or a rotor change easily.
Well, we're planning on that. We'll, of course, check the measurements as the race progresses, but I believe that we will be able to do that.
What's the time difference if you don't make a change? If you have to make that change, how much time does it take in the pits?
Well, we're down to about a minute to make the change on the front and about a minute in the rear. So, you know, you're going to save some time if we don't have to do it, that's for sure.
There's a gentleman on the screen right now that's pretty familiar to most people in sports car racing. Andrew?
Well, I thought that Dick ought to see what his team manager, Tony Dow, is doing. Well, Tony Dow spoilt the picture for me because he was having his dinner. He's actually put it on the top of some brake pads now, and he's going to talk to us. It's going so well, isn't it?
Yeah, not bad. It's, it's doing what it should do.
Now, what about your team owner there being up in our commentary booth? You got a few words for him?
Keep the faith, baby.
Keep the faith, baby. We've talked a lot about Bob Wallach, but you've got 2 young German drivers, and you know, Lucas and Dirk doing a great job, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, all the drivers have done a good job. I mean, we had a very good strategy, a hard strategy when we started, and we've stuck to it, and it's paying off, you know. And now we're in one of those nice positions where we can sit out in front of people and not get ourselves under pressure. So when it comes to maintenance on the car, we can take that a little bit more time and have the pressure of being 5-10 seconds behind.
Tony, you don't know this, but up in the booth, Dick's been giving all your secrets away.
Well, if he knew what they were, he'd be able to, wouldn't he?
Oh, well, there you go.
Back to you in the booth, Dick.
Dick left on that comment and is on his way back down to have a real quiet word with Tony.
I'm just thinking, you know, Dick, I remember that race we did in 1980 there. It piddled down with rain here, if you remember.
Oh, do I ever.
And you waited then 20 years to come back. There's obviously something mega about Le Mans that makes you have to come back here.
Oh, these are hallowed grounds. You know, I drove in the place for the pre-testing, and I have to admit I broke out in tears. And you know, this, you know, every race driver dreams of being here. The famous drivers of the past, the magic, the ambiance. Look at this crowd; it's incredible, and it's a difficult race. If you do well here, you've done something, let's face it.
Yeah, I think that's right, because whatever you do here, if you have a finish, especially if you get a good class victory, or even better, you'll never forget it for the whole of your life. It just stays embedded with you for keeps.
Sure does. Yeah.
By the way, we were talking about the program you put together. Obviously, you know, Porsche, you know, certainly involved and the like, but we were talking about the Reinhold Jost factor for Audi. You do have the Tony Dow factor. I mean, this is a guy who knows what to do and how to do it.
Very, very clever man. He's been around racing a long time. He's won here at Le Mans before. He's been in Formula One. Actually, many of our mechanics are Formula One experienced guys. So I think we put together a very adept team, very passionate. They don't care if it's 4:30 in the morning, they have to work too. They're here 7 days a week, and that's what it takes if you want to win.
Well, it looks like you're going along very nicely right now. It's early days, a lot of racing to go, and but best of luck. You're doing a great job.
As Tony mentioned, a fairly comfortable lead in class and 18th overall right now. So a great run for Dick Barber Racing. We certainly hope that continues throughout the night.
Do you see yourself, Dick, stepping up to the next category? I mean, I know what you're like. You know, if you have this class win away here, you're going to want to come back and see this thing out overall, aren't you?
Well, you know, historically, I always ran in the big kids' cars. You know, I always like to win overall. And yes, I would be less than honest if I didn't tell you that was what my plan is, to be in the Le Mans prototypes very soon.
Can you tell us with what?
I don't really know, Danny, I tell you.
All right, Dick, we really appreciate you coming up. We know that you've got a lot to do as well tonight. We appreciate the time, and we wish you the best of luck. Have a good one.
Thank you, gentlemen, very much. Pleasure being here.
Good luck to you.
We all want to ride in Big Blue, of course, so keep that in mind. So, all right, well, that's the deal. And as we said, coming up shortly, we're going to be turning over to the other crew as well. But one thing we won't be doing is going anywhere. We're here right through to the finish. We'll be right back. Speaking of familiar figures at Le Mans, how about the legend as a driver and now as a car owner, Andre Pescarolo, and he's with Andrew.
Yeah, Henry, how do you feel you're not driving in the race for the first time in 30-odd years?
I feel actually perfect because I chose this year to do not drive. I chose to build my own team. I chose to have a competitive team for endurance racing. And now I'm very pleased because the team looks very good. It's running very well. We had no problem until now. And I think I will prove this year that I am a promising team for the future. And it's more important for me to be a very good team manager now. You know, perhaps I will drive again, I don't know, but my priority this year is to build a good team and to be a good team manager.
And also have a new partnership with Peugeot. You've got a brand new Peugeot engine in the car.
Yes, that was the most important thing for me, to be partner with a manufacturer. And I had the opportunity to use a new Peugeot 607 engine prepared by Sodemo. And Peugeot has been very interested in that effort. And it was a one-year contract. And I hope if we do well here that we will continue together.
Henry, thanks very much. Le Grand Pescar, ladies and gentlemen.
Indeed, 4 wins as a driver, and that certainly puts one in legend category, and he is that. Of course, being French, that is all the more magnified. Speaking of magnified, how about the laps now that Alan McNish has thrown in? He's just done it again, Danny. He's set the fastest lap of the race again, a 3-minute 37.877 second lap. He is a man on a mission.
He is that, and it's not that far. He's only a little over a second off of the pole position time that they turned here. Believe me, but his teammates aren't that far off. They've turned some 338.1s, 338.7s. But a lot of this, of course, is always dictated by traffic. Absolutely. And then, of course, as we've seen, the reason he's having to turn those laps, they had a problem.
And you're looking at the upper 30 standings of this event right now, so you've got to look at all of the various class leaders. And of course, Dick Barber, we mentioned that car up to 18th right now, the number 83 GT Porsche. And there's those 5 cars simply at war right now, 12th through 16th overall in the GTS division. The 3 Vipers chased hard by the 2 Corvettes up front. It is all Audi, but Danny, you mentioned a little problem. We've seen the chink, and I think those are some prophetic words that this is obviously something they've planned for, which means you wonder if they're suspect and worried about it.
Well, that's true. The thing about a 24-hour race is managing your problems and hoping that they're small, being prepared for them, spending the minimum amount of time in the pit. The speed on the track, although that is important, more important is spending less time in the pits.
Just saw a shot of the Den Blah Avis machine, the number 10 Panoz, which has been very fast but has experienced some serious problems. And so that's a situation there. But I understand Calvin Fish is back on and down in pit lane. Calvin, welcome.
Thanks, Greg. I'm down here in the Chrysler pit. They're getting ready for the leader in the GTS category. It's the 51 machine. I believe it's Beretta at the wheel right now. They're going to do a driver change and give the car a good looking over. Got 4 Michelins at the ready. Typically when they do the driver change, of course, they change the tires at the same time. But it's routine so far. Once we've done this pit stop, I'm going to try and get a word with Hugh DeShawna, because he said about midnight they may look at changing the pace if they're in a close battle with those vets, which they are. So they may actually start to reduce the lap times from here on out, guys.
Well, the battle is going to be obviously very intense, and we're going to watch it.
That's true, but I don't think those are the words that Corvette and Chevrolet wanted to hear. Although that could be, you know, a little bit of bravado too. The team managers do give usually a pace, and they want you to run about that time. It's hard to do that with traffic, though.
Leader's in, Calvin.
Yes, he is, and Beretta jumps out very swiftly indeed. Dupuis, he's a little shorter in stature. He punches in his seat insert. Driver change is being done. They're looking at the fuel. Normally takes between about 25 and 30 seconds if this is a full fuel load, which I would understand it would be under green flag conditions. Meanwhile, the brake and tire engineers take a good look in each corner of the car, make sure that the brake wear is okay. Ideally, they'd like to do this without a pad change or a rotor change, but it's going to be a close call. They're going to do 4 tire change right now, starting on the rear of the car. As you see, there's different colored balaclavas on these mechanics, guys. The white balaclavas means they're the tire changes, and then the blue balaclavas, they're the 4 mechanics who are allowed to work on the car at the same time. The fueling has to be done first, though. This looks like a routine stop. I don't see any other drama going on other than the tire change, and he should be out of here shortly.
Well, they continue to just operate like clockwork here, and of course it is the clock at Le Mans, as we've alluded to throughout, that tells us so much. And the clock tells us it's time for us to vacate our seats and turn it back over again to Sam Posey, Derek Daly, David Hobbs, Calvin already on board, and of course Dorsey Schrader in pit lane. We'll be back with you in just a little bit. Enjoy the rest of the coverage, and we'll talk to you later.
And so here we are, the night having settled well upon the grandstands and the 8-mile track, the moon looking down upon the entire assembly. As beautiful a sight, Derek Daly and David Hobbs, as I think you could possibly ask for in the world of motor racing.
And the perfect weather to run a race like this at this time of the night, because it is now cool. We heard Chris Neifeld say earlier on how much more physically easier it was to do double stints at this time of night. But this has been an unusual race here. Le Mans is unusual every year that we come here. The press materials are printed in as many as 5 different languages. Although Audi have come here with this enormous steamroller and demonstration of their technology, there has been a huge American involvement and American interest in this year's Le Mans 24-hour race. We saw the Cadillacs, the Panoz cars, remember, from Atlanta, Georgia, the Vipers, the Corvettes against each other. This is a worldwide stage where these manufacturers battle head-to-head, and as we watch another pit stop for the number 63 Corvette, currently running in 15th place overall, 4th place overall in the GTS category.
Derek, we have visiting with us here Len Hunt, Vice President of Audi North America. Len, congratulations on the way things are going so far for you. Tell us a little bit about that spectacular pit stop. What did you do?
Well, it's for a number of years I've been involved in motor racing, and I was in the pit. I was right behind it, and I've never seen anything in my whole life as impressive.
Neither have we.
McNeish came in, and literally in the time it took him to take his overalls down to his waist, take his helmet off, have a drink, they changed the whole rear end. 3 minutes 56 seconds. I just never seen anything quite like it. The hoist, the mechanic, the whole operation. We think it was caused by the spin.
Believe it or not, the cars is slowing on the track.
One of your cars is slowing down.
Oh, really? Maybe I shouldn't have come along.
It is the number 8 car. It is the car driven by Alan McNish. They suspect it has a puncture.
No, that was the number 9.
Was it? Okay.
This looks like
it's down at Arnage, so
it is Frank pretty close by.
Two-thirds of the way around, so he's got to get through the Porsche curves.
What was the cause of the, why did you have to change the whole back of the car?
We suspect it was due to that earlier spin, you know, because we went over the curbs.
Yeah.
And when we looked at some of the parts, the suspension was, we came to the conclusion that that was really what had done it. The damage had probably been done earlier in that spin.
Well, it was a pretty substantial belt. If
it was.
When he knows into that barrier.
I'm sure that photographer thinks the same way he was sleeping about on the Armco.
Good Lord.
What triggered that? Did he get on a little oil, or just inattention, or what?
It just seemed like he ran wide and got his wheels on the soft stuff and spin. But I mean, the remarkable thing was the impact with the Armco. Just seemed, we just seemed to brush it off and did 2 laps and was fine.
Len, you guys, I'm sorry, seemed like Superman at that point, because I mean, any other team would have come into the pits.
Well, you see, these Audis are built really strong.
Len, so many people wonder at why manufacturers spend so much money to win a race of this caliber. But from your point of view, it really is, it's a demonstration of what you believe Audi can show the world about the company and their technology.
Absolutely. We believe wholeheartedly it's a showcase for our technology. I mean, these cars are on the leading edge of technology, which actually, we do see coming into the cars as well. We see things like, bi-turbo engines, we see 5-valve technology, and a lot of the stuff that we see being developed on the racetrack ends up in customers' hands.
Len, you have now moved to North America.
Correct.
To head up a very large market. Is motor racing important in the American market for Audi also?
Absolutely, because you want to get that performance image into your marketing, and being able to compete in the American Le Mans series this year is turning out to be really fascinating, because in our preparation, obviously we went back to the old cars just before Le Mans, so BMW have nosed in front of us in the championship, and now we're looking forward to going back with these cars and mixing it a bit with them.
Len,
well, you can watch it. Frank
Here's my old British Touring Car champion of 1996.
Right.
Calvin, I believe you're down there.
Yes, I am, Derek. Frank Bieler brings the number 8 machine in. This is an unscheduled stop. He had lap 4 on his pit board, meaning that he had a few more laps before he's out of fuel. So he's crawled around here. There's some kind of problem. They had a new nose available to them. They're looking under the front end of the car in particular. I do not see any flat tires at this point in time, but they're pointing to the right front as if there's a problem there. The fuel is in. Now the car goes up on the stands. The mechanics are looking around. They're changing tires on the rear. It just looks like a tire change, so Frank may have actually felt a vibration or maybe possibly a slow, flat tire, and he decided just to ease off and bring it back in before he really tore the tire down and damaged the bodywork. The car is fired back.
David, it's interesting to watch Frank Bieler did almost half a lap at extremely slow speed, which is very clever, because if one of these tires lets go, the repair damage takes so much time.
Absolutely. If the tire comes, it's irreparable, because it goes through radiators and hoses and all sorts of other nasty things. So that was pretty cool of him to come in, because he was going very slowly. The car looked low on the floor to me, but obviously he seems to be going okay now through the S's. Why? It's only about a $50 or $60 million car. I mean,
well, still makes you pretty nervous when it comes in the garage, I tell you.
Len, if you could just hang on for a few more minutes, we're going to slip away for a little break here. Frank Bieler is still shown in second place, but the Audi freight train, the 7, 8, and 9 cars still show a clean pair of heels to everybody in the field, running first, second, and third. Calvin, can you give us an update on Frank Bieler's pit stop?
Yes, I can, Derek. In fact, there was a problem with the right front tire. It's absolutely shredded as the tire came off. I was not on that side of the car, so I did not see it. They immediately threw it in this big black bag. The Michelin engineers took the tire away for examination, but a real problem on that car. As we suspected, Derek, he does not want to have that go out at over 200 miles an hour down that back straightaway and really damage a lot of bodywork. So it's really the experience of Frank Biela that may have stopped a really big problem on that number 8 machine. We're also expecting the number 7 car in here shortly.
Thank you, Calvin. We're still joined here by Mr. Len Hunt, VP of Audi North America. Len, to show people how precarious this motor racing business can be, as much testing as Audi has done, as much development they have done, Alan McNish still crashed during the test here towards the end of the day.
Absolutely.
But I mean, that type of thing can happen.
Absolutely. I mean, as we've seen Alan drive the car, we've seen him literally drive the wheels off it. And I suppose you don't know where the edge of the envelope is until you come off it occasionally. But when we were over at Silverstone, we saw him put a magnificent performance in the old car, and actually led the race in that lovely old car for his first time he had ever led a race.
You have some wonderful chemistry there between Aiello, McNish, and Ortelli. It must be terrific.
It is. It's lovely actually to see the chemistry in all the team. You know, when we look back to the touring car days for most. The old dog just.
Alboreto.
He just didn't want to come out of that car.
Just going to slip away for another quick break.
The leader of the 24-hour Le Mans is in the pits. Michele Alboreto stays in the number 7 machine. Routine stop, fuel only, no tires. Michele takes it back out for another stint.
Len, you just said to us, here's a man on a mission. He seems to be.
He does. You know, he's had a couple of tough races beforehand, but today he's really just dropped into the groove, and I think Michele will be in the focus box. You're right.
You know what's interesting to me is that you brought the team of McNish and Aiello and Ortelli together from Porsche. Let's face it, that's where they won together. And I'm reminded of a parallel story with a different conclusion, which was what happened back in 1966 when Ken Miles was driving for Ford. He won Daytona and Sebring, was in position to win at Le Mans, and Ford realized that the headlines might read, Miles wins hat trick. So they prevented him from winning the race. They took him out, caused him to finish second. And he was so bitter that he went to the victory celebration and greeted Henry Ford with a glass of champagne and broke the champagne in his hand, broke the glass in his hand. I think your attitude is, shall we say,
a little different from that, shall we say.
Let's follow our GTS battle here. Calvin, you're there?
Yes, I am. Mark Duez in the 52 Chrysler Viper is in the pits again. Looks like routine. I don't see any tires ready for this machine, so it should be fuel only. Once again, the tire engineers and the brake engineers take a close look inside the wheels to make sure they don't see anything that may be dangerous for this next stint for Mark de Belgium. He's had so much success in endurance racing and has really become an integral part of this Oreca team. They're working on the front end, maybe cleaning the grill. Fires it back up, routine stop about 35 seconds.
Okay, the 3 factory Vipers are running 12th, 13th, and 14th. And the 2 factory Corvettes are right behind them, 15th and 16th overall. The Corvette, the 63 Corvette is about 2 minutes 24 seconds behind the number 53 Chrysler Viper. Len, what determines the length of this program? Does success determine how long you stay at this level? Or do you predetermine how long you think this program will last?
It's more a case of trying to fit a strategy for motorsport, get a broad base. You know, we've even got one young lad, Paul Edwards, in Formula Palmer Audi in Europe, doing really well, 4th at Spa recently, coming through. We try and take a broad view. You know, we've got the Speed Vision GT car, the S4 Quattros racing there. So yeah, we take a look at it, but you really don't want to go in there for 1 year and come out. You want to take a minimum of 3 years, and that's why we're really keen to see the American Le Mans Series building. It's becoming a world platform, as you were saying earlier. So yeah, we're pretty keen on the base and the focus.
You make some very exciting road cars. Do you ever see yourself getting involved in maybe the GTS class at this sort of level, or are you going to be happy with what you've got?
I think we're pretty happy with what we are. I mean, it's nice to see this S4 Quattro coming through with Michael Galati and Derek Bell. It's funny that Justin's in the Corvette, and, you know,
this mix there. But yeah, we like to, you know, like it's this balance of technology and bringing drivers through and doing something for the slightly older ones as well.
And of course, the cars that are leading at the moment, of course, really do show off your leading edge technology.
I mean, you know, the turbocharged cars, the braking technology on these cars, it's just space age. And yeah, it's great that customers can associate with it.
Interesting you mentioned Paul Edwards. Paul is in fact has been here all week.
He has.
Paul Edwards, one of the few American flag wavers, has raced in Europe for the last 4 or 5 years, struggled to get some backing. Audi North America, I believe.
Yeah, we back him, yeah.
Back him this year. And I do some work for the Indianapolis Business and Convention Bureau right now on the Formula One race. And their question to me is, how do we sustain the interest after the first couple of years? And I said, you'll only do it with an American driver. Maybe Paul Edwards might be the one with the desire to try and claw his way up into a Formula One car someday.
Well, we looked at him, we watched his talent carefully, we saw him win the Winter Series, and yeah, we do back him.
This is the Panoz of the team Dragon car, TV Asahi. They're actually 4 booths down from us down here doing a TV show live as we speak. Also back to Japan. Car number 22, currently in 7th place overall. I think we should take a moment and go and visit with the boss of this Audi team, Reinhold Jost, who calls all the shots. Calvin, go ahead.
Reinhold, we saw the number 9 car obviously have the gearbox problem earlier in the event. Do you suspect that the other cars may run into similar trouble this evening?
No, this was not the gearbox problem. The car had a small crash and something was not all right, you know, from the springs. So that's why we changed immediately the whole rear. This was the fastest repair time, you know, just 4 minutes something.
The track conditions over the last 10 hours or so seem very strange. I mean, there's a lot of debris out there. It's very slippery for the drivers. We see a lot of driver error throughout the field. Are you having to be extremely cautious with the advantage that you have in this event to bring the cars in if you suspect any tire trouble?
Okay, you saw some accidents, you know. I think 4 or 5 accidents. So I think some pieces 6 on the street, and that's why we have already 4 flat tires. So we are also happy the car can come to the pits to change the tires. But you saw last year Toyota stop on the street on the truck, and okay, that's why our driver, I think, drive careful, and I hope we can see a good end, you know, a good finish.
We have Len Hunt upstairs right now with the guys, with Derek and the guys upstairs. Any message for him at this point?
Yes, we are happy. Now everything is running very well, and wait and see.
Okay, good luck most of the way.
Thank you very much.
And Len Hunt has just a big smile on his face up here. Len, I want to say thank you for taking the time to come and join us. Congratulations on the display from Audi so far. And I know you are very nervous still, waiting for the end of this race.
Shall be till 4 o'clock tomorrow.
Exactly. Len Hunt, VP of Audi North America. Good enough to come and join us here in a commentary booth and enjoying his Audis running 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Le Mans 24 Hours live on Speed Vision. We'll be back.